I'm just curious if people are gonna get away from film because it's so expensive and it takes forever to get it back.
I think it's going to have a niche market. I think that American consumerism is a pretty good indicator that people are willing to pay the price for the real thing,
Yeah.
even if it is just a name.
Is it okay to inhale this? I don't know. Can you even see it? Jesus Christ. I'm gonna show you some images throughout this video, and one is digital and one is film, and I want you guys to figure out which ones are which. And now. So Peter McKinnon and Willem Verbeek have been known for skyrocketing the price of film. Understandably so. They are very well-established YouTubers, and people really look up to them and use them for advice. And I think that's great for them, but it kind of sucks for people that want to shoot film. Although there's a lot of people out there that will shoot film, no matter how much it costs, because they are just obsessed with it, and I completely get it. There's such a uniqueness about photographing on film. You get the nostalgia. The analog feel is one of the best feelings in the world. You slow down, and you're really, really conservative with the amount of photos that you take. So you have 36 different images usually, instead of having hundreds of images that you would shoot on a digital camera, which I find very useful. I wouldn't take these two cameras with you wherever you go, because you want to shoot like you want to shoot in that moment, and carrying a film camera and a digital is kind of hard because you'll end up picking up the digital camera and shooting more with it because you know you can, and then shooting less with the film. I suggest taking one a piece unless you're doing a shoot and you're getting paid to shoot the film, or unless you just really know what you're doing. One thing that's better about digital than film is that you can change your ISO on the fly unless you have a medium format camera and you have the backs that you can change. But I'm talking about 35mm today, and that's just one of the really good things about digital. I mean, obviously there's tons of things that are good about digital over film, but that's probably one of the best. The digital also gives you room to pivot, because you get to see everything, and it's instant gratification whenever you photograph something, and that's kind of where we are in this world. Instant gratification is what keeps us going with all this technology and everything's at our fingertips. It's really nice to get away from that and actually do it the analog way, where you actually have to wait a couple weeks to get your film back. I think that's something that we tend to forget as consumers, is that sometimes it's good to wait, and once you get your film back, you forget what you shot, and it's a really nice feeling getting those images back, in my opinion. One thing that does suck about film, as we all know, is it's super expensive. I think usually a roll of normal film from Portra 400 to Cinestill is around $15 to $24. It depends on what you get. I really like Ilford HP5. That's probably my favorite. I just like shoot black and white. It's just awesome. I know it's a cheaper film, but at the same time, I just like the results from it. The graininess, the contrast, everything is just very, very good. And yeah, I'll be shooting on that for a long time. I find that shooting on film is kind of experimental also, because you kind of turn that thing off in your head where everything has to be perfect, sharp, and crispy with digital. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have film, where it kind of gets a little messy, a little out of focus, and everything doesn't have to be perfect. It's more about moments and trying to push yourself to create something very interesting using an old format. And I really, really enjoy that about film. I also believe that if you're good at film photography before you jump into digital, you're probably gonna be really good at digital also, because you already know your exposure triangle and you're using manual focus, and then you hop onto a system that has autofocus or a Leica M. Either way, you get to see your image as you're taking it, so you can do fine adjustments, and that's really, really useful, and it's not a hard learning curve there. But if you go opposite and you've shot digital your whole life, then you go to film, the learning curve is substantially higher. So that's something to remember whenever you're jumping into film, if you haven't already. Using film really teaches you to slow down, and I think that's something that I preach a lot on this channel, is about using cameras that actually make you think, and using your brain is just really good for creative moments, and just the being conservative overall is just really awesome with film photography. So that's one of my favorite things about it. Having 36 different images of different subjects usually is just really, really nice. Another thing about film photography is that you have so many unique options, and there's so many people out there that are stuck on what's popular. And I know I mentioned Willem and Peter McKinnon earlier, and they drive the prices of certain cameras up, yes, but there's other options out there. I use the Voigtlander Bessa R3M, and I actually did a video on this, you should check it out, but I call it one of the best alternatives for the Leica M film cameras, and with good reasons. You should definitely hop over there and check it out. That's what all of these film photos are from that you're seeing today. And another thing is that film cameras just look cool. People, this is a conversation piece. People want to know what you have here, and it's just a really interesting looking camera. Most film cameras are, and just the endless possibilities of what kind of film camera you can have are just staggering. And I think that's just a really fascinating part of film photography, is that they went through so many years of just playing and having a good time making cameras, and that's not really what happens anymore. I feel like all the cameras now are kind of the same, and there's just like a few details that some cameras have over the other ones, and they all get lost in the mix. They're all great cameras. It's impossible to buy a bad digital camera now unless it's just like the cheapest one on Amazon that you can buy. But I mean, for the top 7 producers of cameras, I think that's really, really, really hard to buy a bad one, if it's even possible. Where we're at right now is making digital look like film. Is that okay? Is that crossing a line? Is there any point in it? And honestly, I think that it's really interesting that you can get so close to make it look like film, but you still lose the analog feeling and the whole process behind the film. And that's what I really enjoy about film photography, to be completely honest with you. But there's some people out there that I've talked to who have told me that they go to weddings and they shoot the weddings, and then they'll also shoot it on digital, but then edit it to make it look like film because their film didn't turn out. So they'll sell the clients the film photography that wasn't really film, which I think is kind of up, and not a huge fan of that. I think if you're going to use a software to make something look like film, I think that's something that you should talk to your client with about in the first place. Because you could just tell them that you have film emulations and you can make 50 of them look like film and just upcharge them for those 50 if they like the film look. If you don't know what you're doing with the film, don't go to a wedding and shoot film if you don't know what you're doing and you're charging for it. It just doesn't make any sense. So be very careful with that. That's my morals. I don't know what you're doing. You do whatever makes you feel better and sleep better at night, but that's where I would fall into that category. But I do think there is a place for people out there that don't know a lot about film that can sell that if they really want to. And I know it's a trendy thing right now, and it has been for a little while, but yeah, that's something good to look into. I use DEHANCER, and I'm not sponsored by them by any means, but I do like the software. It's very interesting, and that's what I edited all of these photos with today that are digital. And I just really want to know how far you'll go to switch back to digital and get out of film, because it's just so expensive, and I know it's a hassle, and some people get away from it because of how slow it is to get them back and how expensive it is. So let me know what you plan on doing in the future. Let me know if you got all of these images correct. I really hope you did, because I think it's kind of obvious, but yeah, let me know. And I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.